Welcome back, I'm Marina Kim with the latest news from Kazakhstan. The democratic community of the country continues the struggle against the controversial law on the leader of the nation. However, experts say that it is almost impossible to recall the law due to the specific nature of the vertical of power.
The lawsuit of businessman and public activist Ahirjan Akhmetov befell the same fate of the one submitted by journalist Zhanna Baitelova. The court simply refuses to accept the suit against the law on the leader of the nation, advising to appeal to the Constitutional Council. Akhmetov, though, disagrees and intends to continue struggling for justice. This will lead to violation of the constitution when the officials will apply the norms of the law for their own benefits in accordance with the hierarchy. The president is completely inviolable, thus the lower-ranked officials will be partially inviolable and so on. Akhmetov says that according to the constitution, the court had to proceed with the case and if needed appeal to the Constitutional Council instead of advising plaintiffs to do so. Utigan Ihsanov, the retired judge with 30 years of experience, agrees, saying that the times when everyone could appeal to what was known as the Constitutional Court are over. Now the review of law's legitimacy by judges may cost them their jobs. Ordinary citizens deprived of a right to appeal to the Constitutional Council. Nevertheless, Kazakh democratic community continues to protest against the law on the leader of the nation. Today, the members of the party Algai have submitted already the third request for holding a rally in front of the offices of the ruling party in Ratan. The first reaction of the Almaty city administration is anticipated today. Nazarbayev is not my leader. As for me, he is nothing but a president of Kazakhstan. Initiatives like that should be supported by the entire nation. All these events may create an information boom, but will hardly influence the situation, says Utigan Ihsanov. The only chance to influence the developments might be an appeal to the UN International Human Rights Committee. No one has ever done it to question the legitimacy of Kazakh law, so it just might be worth it, says the ex-justice.
Meanwhile, public activist Andrei Tsukanov is charged for resistance to the actions of the law enforcement agents during a meeting that addressed the problems of a suburban district in Karaganda. The incident was also related with the discussion of the controversial law on the leader of the nation. People gathered in the local civic center discussed the lack of water supply in the district. During the heated debates, Communist Alexander Bondarenko called for the president's resignation and was subsequently arrested by the police. According to Andrei Tsukanov, Bondarenko is charged with offense to the honor and dignity of the president, while Tsukanov himself is charged with disobedience to law enforcement representatives.
Police officers arrested and told us to write explanations about Bondarenko's speech. I wondered why I should do it if it wasn't me who spoke about the matter. In response, they said, otherwise they will take me to the police station. Then I said that I don't have to go anywhere, and if they need me, they should send me the summons. In the end, the police used force to take me to the station and focused their attention on the episode with the calls for president's resignation. I don't see any offense of the president's dignity in my actions.
The case of another public activist, the ex-leader of the local branch of the political party Azad, Aydos Sadikov, was transferred to the Aktobe City Court. The prosecution needed only a couple of hours to review all case materials and make the decision to proceed with the case. As claimed by his lawyers, Sadikov could face the sentence of up to 4 years of imprisonment.
Attorneys of the ex-leader of the Aktobe branch of the political party Azad, Aydos Sadikov, have submitted a complaint to the Aktobe region's prosecutor. The lawyers are confident that prosecutor Iskildiyev, who launched the proceedings on the activist's case, is obviously guilty of negligence. Supposedly, the case should have been returned for reprocessing.
It is impossible to compose the indictment, review 209 pages of case materials and make a decision, all in the span of 2 hours. The accuracy of the process is questionable. I don't think it's possible to study big volume cases like that in such short periods of time.
As a matter of fact, the law allows a term of 10 days for the preparation of the indictment. The first trial on the case of the public activist will be held on Tuesday. It will be led by the chairman of the Second City Court, Akbulak Kurmantayev. Meanwhile, Aydos Sadikov and his wife's appeal has not yet been accepted. This indicates yet again how the authorities are interested in a specific outcome. The criminal case was led first by the Internal Affairs Department and then it was transferred, thus we assume the case is in political order. The public activist will be charged with hooliganism and resistance to the actions of the police, with the possible sentence of up to 4 years of imprisonment. At the same time, the oppositionist claims that it was the other way around and it was the police that abused him. The defense is confident that the prosecution is trying to relieve the law enforcement officers from accountability for causing injuries to the suspect.
half a year for improvements. This was the term given to Kazakhstan as a country chairing the OSCE by foreign human rights activists who demanded to get in compliance with its international obligations.
Polish, Russian and Kyrgyz human rights organizations gave Kazakhstan a 6-month term to get in line with the OSCE international human rights standards. Media pressure and opposition suppression is becoming commonplace in Kazakhstan. The authorities prevent people from exercising their rights for peaceful assembly, and there is no mechanism to protect prisoners. The democracy and human rights problems are not exclusive internal issues of one country. They are part of international obligations and subject for civil society's concern. In coming weekend, Almaty will host the OSCE informal summit. The conference participants will forward several demands to the summit attendees. Activists are outraged by how the OSCE ignores serious human rights violations in Kazakhstan. Specifically, they criticized the diplomatic position of Alexander Kelchevsky, the head of the OSCE center in Astana. The Kazakhstan's chairmanship of the OSCE will reflect on the long-term perspectives. Journalist Sergei Duvanov doubts international activists will have real political influence. The OSCE has become a hostage of its own decision and will not likely admit the step away from democracy on the part of Kazakhstan. Meanwhile, issues like the release of human rights activist Evgeny Zhovtis must be solved only using political pressure. If the negotiations regarding Zhovtis and others will end positively, they will be released early, otherwise they will have to serve their entire terms. Duvanov believes that the big politics will force the OSCE to ignore the human rights violations in Kazakhstan until 2011, as this is an issue of both the OSCE and Astana's reputation.
In the meantime, state officials do not believe the situation in Kazakhstan is something out of the ordinary. Nursultan Nazarbayev will open the informal meeting of the OSCE foreign ministers this coming weekend. His personal contribution in these processes was already documented as the Kazakh Foreign Affairs Ministry published a book entitled Kazakhstan and the OSCE 2010, which offers the official point of view on the role of Kazakhstan in the organization's activities. Prior to the upcoming OSCE formal summit, some key decisions may be made during the informal one. There are pressing security issues on the Eurasian territory, including conflicts in Kyrgyzstan and Afghanistan, which are yet to be addressed with proper solution.
This book presents a lesson of the 18-year history of Kazakhstan's relations with the OSCE, including the election of our country as its chair in 2010. Also, the book tells about the main priorities of Kazakhstan's chairmanship and the preliminary assessment of its first 6 months of activities.
The OSCE Bureau is concerned about the corruption growth in Kazakhstan. During a regional seminar on the intensification of the anti-corruption efforts held in Almaty on Monday, the head of the OSCE Center in Astana said it is hard to speak about democracy in a country with such corruption rate. Specialists of the World Customs Organization discussed the ways to eliminate corruption. The struggle against the problem should not only imply the accountability for bribe givers. It is important to monitor the organized crime, money laundering and drug trafficking issues, as they usually go side by side with corruption. The Astana OSCE Center's head Alexander Kelchevsky stated that the high level of corruption turns away potential investors. According to him, Kazakhstan should join the European Union's anti-corruption conventions. In the meantime, the OSCE statistics indicate that 60% of Kazakhstan's population considers corruption a natural occurrence.
What we see is routine, small corruption facts, which unfortunately we have to face every day, nearly everywhere. I personally, however, never had such experience.
Meanwhile, the ordinary citizens encounter corruption on a daily basis. The following mini poll on the streets of Almaty reflects the situation.
Everything depends on the authorities. They take bribes and let others do it. The corruption can't be fought off as it was initiated by the officials. Of course, this is a pure crime as someone is trying to bribe somebody. There are so many drunk drivers nowadays because they know that they can get away with it, which is very convenient.